Hello, everybody, and welcome to this Vessel mini-series where I am going to try to be very formal. And I'm going to try and pretend that I am an actual podcast host, but I'm not. And it's really hard because when I interview people that I adore, all I want to do is go out for coffee. And we have to pretend to be professionals who are formal and really good at this. And so, in the spirit of that, let me tell you what you are about to listen to. This is a mini series where we are going to explore some of the real life transformation that happens when we stop performing and start really coming home to ourselves. So each conversation in this mini series dives into one of Vessel's 8 core themes, and it's going to be told through the lens and lived experience of someone who has actually walked this path. And Nechama Stahl, has very much been walking this path with me from Vessel's inception and even before, because before Vessel was conceived, there was Ignite. I tell this story a lot. Nechama is my gym buddy. She is the one who works out on the mat right near me. And sometimes we do more talking than working out. But Nechama was the one who has been listening to me contemplate and brainstorm and create, but never really execute. And so it was one Wednesday morning in the gym where Nechama says, Fally, this is it. Whatever it takes, you got to bring this out into the world. And here we are. We're starting our 7th cohort of Vessel now. So we're like 6.5 years in. And Nechama is definitely someone who has walked this path. So Nechama, why don't you tell us a little bit about who you are outside of the gym, where you come from, what your work is all about, and what brings you here?
Okay. Hi, I am Nechama. I spend my time working as a college teacher and also as a life coach. It's interesting because there's a lot of overlap in those two roles because the college teacher of today tends to be quite a bit of a coach for some of the girls, but I would say the bulk of my work happens when I do my one-on-one coaching. I really like to, not what I really notice a lot, like especially on the topic that we're going to be talking about today, is that wherever I am in life, those are the people that find me. And it's so interesting to see how the relationship between what I'm working through, what I'm navigating, what I'm trying to figure out for myself, and how that will suddenly show up in a person who comes my way. And it's like, oh, okay, interesting. That's what I love about the work that I
Yeah,
do.
you're mentioning, the college teacher of today, and we've talked about this so many times about the difference between the college teacher of today versus the college teacher that we probably experienced 20 years ago when we were entering into this, into marriage and this phase of our lives. And the college teachers of the day, yesteryear, they were people that we put on pedestals. They were kind of people that we told ourselves, whether it was true or not, we told ourselves a story that they knew what they were talking about. They had it all figured out. And you're saying that today that has very, very much evolved. It's not what's happening. Can you tell us more about what you're experiencing with that?
Yeah, I think college teaching of today is much more generating a relationship between student and teacher, so to speak. It's at least the way that I approach it and the way that I've trained, like been taught to approach it, is much more authentic. As in, this is not just like, okay, I can give you a paper and with all the details of what you need to know and what you need to do. But that's not really what our classes are about. Our classes are about building a relationship with each other. Our classes are about opening conversations that are important to have that maybe you've had them at home with your parents, maybe you've had them with your friends, but here you have an opportunity with someone who has learned this, has studied this, has delved into it, and you can ask your questions. You can have the conversations that you maybe weren't even sure you're allowed to have or can have. And yes, of course, we're learning Torah mishpacha and we're teaching you how to keep that mitzvah, but it's not just about the do's and don'ts of that mitzvah. It's how that mitzvah is going to play such a central role in your life. And I think that's a big part of what's different today is that it's becoming much more meaningful to women. It's becoming much more authentic for a lot of women. I know I see this a lot when I'm reteaching married
You do
women,
that a
right? I run
lot,
a
right? You
course called
give
the
not
Collaborator.
college teaching,
Yes.
but refresher courses.
That's why I trained as a college teacher. I never intended to teach college. I remember having my interview for the training program, and She was like, so what are your intentions? Like, what are you hoping? I'm like, I'll be honest, like, I don't really plan on teaching colors. I really just want to teach the married women. Like, I want to give them a piece of what I found when I was married for 10 plus years. And then, of course, here I am 3 years later teaching colors all the time. But there's still something so gratifying about talking to a group of married women or even a single married person and watching their face light up and they're like, hang on, what? Like, that's what Torah was about? Or there's a conversation to be had about this people. Like, I never knew that. I never heard that. And that's just like, oh, that's the part that I love. That's the part that I love is being able to like reintroduce Torah to people with a brand new perspective.
Perspective. Perspective. You know, Vessel is all about creating new words. We do that all the time.
New words.
Perspection, I think we have to write it down.
Yes.
On another
Yes.
episode that I recorded for this mini-series. Mini-series. I told you we were going to try to be
We
serious.
need a new dictionary.
Yeah, they put the word smetana out there, and yeah,
Oh, sure.
smetana. And so for those people who don't speak Yiddish or didn't listen to that episode, smetana means the cream cheese, like the sour cream. Yes, I feel like every episode here is just gonna drop like a really important new word, life skill, perception, perspection.
Perspection.
Yes. So I want
Yeah.
to just set the record straight here. Perfection.
Yeah.
Perspection. You mentioned that here I am 3 years later, and I just want people listening to, I want to highlight for people listening that you are not, you are in this field for way more than 3 years. It's just 3 years since you trained as a college teacher, but you have this vast wealth of information and offerings. You've been in this world for quite some time.
I think if we're being honest, I've been in this work for as long as I've been alive, but I've only recognized it later on. I've always been a seeker. I've always been a learner. I was the kid who loved school because I was thirsty for knowledge. I was thirsty for information. So I was like that nerdy kid that was like sitting and writing notes and like taking everything in. And, I wouldn't cut class because then I'm going to miss what the teacher's
To be
going to
clear,
say.
Nechama and I did know each other growing up. We were not friends. Yeah, that was...
We were not
No.
at all.
You belong more in my sister's category, the valedictorian who took notes. Me and you, our worlds did not cross.
We would probably, like even if we went to the same school, I don't think our paths would have crossed.
No, I
at
knew
that
you as
point
my
in
sister's
time.
friend from camp, but yeah, our paths we didn't discover that, there are seekers like this and seekers like this until we were a little more mature.
Just a bit, just a tad. And then, you know what, even like in my early work, I started out doing special ed because it was the thing to do. And I lived in Israel and I was able to do it there. And even in that, there was this element of learning and teaching. And I think that really personifies a lot of what I love to do with my life is I love to learn. I'm always learning something new, but then I also like to pass it forth and give that over. So in the special ed world, I was doing it with working with kids. And then as I slowly transitioned into coaching, I was able to do it in a different way, perhaps a slightly more fulfilling way, if I'm being perfectly honest. But yeah, and it definitely, a lot of it, not a lot of it, all of it was really shaped by my own personal need, my own personal life, what I was seeking at the time, what I was looking for. Like, I've been working on my website recently, and one of the things we had to do was like write the bio, right, the about page. And I remember putting a line in there, like, I can show you my certificates and I could show you all the certifications and all that. But all that is going to tell you is like what my life needed at the time, because that's what I was looking for.
Right. I actually have one of your certificates here. I have your breathwork diploma sitting here in my office. I can't wait to give it to you. For context, Nechama is a phenomenal breathwork facilitator who trained with me back in 2022. And now Nechama staffs my breathwork trainings in addition to being my gym buddy. So I've known you as a seeker for a very long time. And I love what you're saying, that each diploma that you have is really just going to highlight that thing that you were looking for at that time. So can you help me understand? The reason I'm doing this mini series is because every year when it comes time to launch Vessel, I realize I am the absolute worst person to talk to people about Vessel. Because when I created Vessel, I created it out of my own need. So all I could ever talk about is the person that I was when I created Vessel. And it's not the person that I am now, because every year we evolve and the vessel content evolves. And I just realized lately that I've become very flustered when trying to tell people what this product is about. Because I tell people that it's a course on self transformation, but that's pretty terrible. So, but you've been here with me since the beginning. So, and you were the one that really pushed me to launch this. This, Ignite, my other offerings, you've literally been in the founding class of everything that I offer. So, can you help me understand, give me that reflection? What was happening for you at the time that you felt that it was important for me to put this course out?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. That's a great question, actually. I'm gonna stick to what it was like for me because I'm sure that this will resonate with a lot of other people. You have a very particular way with words. And what I found with every conversation we had before the program, is that before the courses, was that you would say something and something inside me would go, oh, that's what I was thinking, or oh, that's what I was feeling, or that's what I was noticing. So we talk a lot about this work as like a coming back, right? Like as a remembering. And I think what your offerings really do is give context to that remembering, like what it looks like. So let's say with Vessel, there were all the ideas, all the classes, each module in and of itself was so profound and something. It wasn't like this shocking revelation per se of like, oh my gosh, I never thought of that. It's like, of course, like obviously, like I should have known that because it was right there. But then you had such a beautiful way of putting that into words and putting that into practice. I think that's a skill that you have that's tremendous, is taking an idea, taking a concept, and then making that practical, making that into an exercise that you can do, making that into a heart work that you can do. I think that's a tremendous cliff, and it's a tremendous skill that you have. And I appreciated that so much about Vessel, especially. I mean, Ignite also, obviously, but with Vessel, I felt like it was fine tuning the skills that I needed to continue walking the path that I was already walking. Like I was always seeking, I was always learning. But now the definition of it was so much beautiful. It's like the finishing touches on the painting that really make it stand out. That's what I found with Vessel. It was really honing and fine tuning those skills that I probably would have got to eventually, but with the way that you taught it and the way that you explained it and the way that you then made it very applicable and useful was like just tremendous in completely like not overwhelming, but just what's the like maybe accenting or highlighting stuff that I was looking for but didn't even realize that I was looking for.
I need a moment. I need a moment.
Yes, take a moment. I'll take a moment,
Thank
take it
you.
in.
My initial impulse is like, yeah, I have a way with words only because my Mercury's in Cancer or whatever. Like just to give it some. Yeah.
No, you have way with words. It is. There is a very. It's a tremendous talent. It's also a tremendous responsibility, and I think that's one of the things that I respect about you a lot is that you take it seriously. You know that it's a responsibility. I think that also what makes your work. That's what makes your work stand out a lot. Is that it's very, very. There's a lot of integrity. There's a lot of integrity in the work.
Thank you. I I obviously I'm asking everybody some form of this question. So hearing what people are responding, I mean, I will take it. Thank you. And also I will say if you spot it, you got it. Right? I mean, this is the thing that you are looking for because you have this in you as well. And you are a not only are you a fantastic teacher and facilitator, I know a lot of our voice notes that we bounce back and forth between one another, you also help me come to clarity a lot. Like I'll have ideas, but someone asking you the right questions also helps generate the right responses. And you have to have someone to ping pong off. And that has been such a nice aspect of our work together and our friendship. And with that, I also want to bring forth that the module that you chose to actually speak on, and this was interesting that I contacted a bunch of people and nobody overlapped. Everybody like knew exactly what module they wanted. And there was no, I never had to tell anybody, sorry, that module was taken. And you went right for module 8, which is titled Love Itself in Orientation of Thriving. And what you're saying about being able to explain things well, right? And they're like foundational principles. It's not like, oh, I never thought of that. It's more like, I never thought of it that way, you know? Like
Yeah.
There's this landing moment that frees you up to go live the rest of your life that you were already living. And then the other piece that kind of jumped out at me in what you were saying is the responsibility aspect. And yes, you're right. I take a lot of responsibility for what I say, how I say it, and what I put out there. And it's tricky. It's tricky being a public figure. It's tricky growing because your students are watching you grow every year. I am not the person I was when I first started Vessel, and it's hard. It's hard to
Yeah.
watch old recordings, but we take responsibility for that. And I want you to share more around why did you choose this module, Thriving, and how does that level of responsibility and being able to format these ideas, how does that align with particularly this subject? Feel free to go in any direction you want with this.
Yes. Oh, well, that is a dangerous invitation.
I trust you.
Oh, why thriving? Honestly, it was really a no-brainer for me. And I'm gonna share a moment that I had. It's like epiphany that I had while driving in the car, because that's where epiphanies happen, clearly. And when I remembered that moment, I was like, that's what thriving is to me, and that's why I chose this module. We have staff meetings for Azara.
You should
Like a
not
lot.
smirk when you say staff meetings. People are going to wonder what happened at
You're
those
right, you're
staff
right, you're
meetings.
right. Hold on. We have
No,
staff
now
meetings
I
for
smirk.
Azamra there. Very serious.
Staff meetings.
And I had this thought one day that, we learn in school that when you have 3 people, 10 people coming together, you have to say it Torah. Like there has to be divrei Torah. And usually what that looks like is, okay, everybody stop the conversation now. We have to say something because that's what, Torah tells us, that's what Allah said. And yet every single one of our meetings, even just our casual check-ins, in the middle of training, inevitably the conversation will involve some element of Torah thought, perspective, halacha. Like there's these interesting conversations happening. And I remember having this epiphany in the car where it's like, that's what living a Torah lifestyle is meant to be. That's what thriving actually is. It's not, okay, stop living and now do the Dvar Torah. It's no, life is the Dvar Torah. And when I realized that, I was like, I love your life right now.
What?
That's what
Say that
thriving
again and
is.
say it louder for the people in the back.
No, I do. It's like that brings me so much joy to realize that a simple staff meeting conversation can be so fulfilling and so interesting and so stimulating and so holy. That's really what thriving is all about. We all have our hard days and we all have our challenges and we all have our struggles, and that's never going to change. But the fact that we can navigate life with so much meaning and so much integrity and so much richness in a simple conversation, that to me, that's what thriving is to me. That is everything. That's the reason for all of this. Like we want to live our lives from that place of pure love and pure joy and truth. And I think that's what Vessel, like the path of Vessel, utilizing all these modules and all these tools, this is where it's gotten me. This is where it's gotten me. It's gotten me to being able to say, I love my life. I love being able to have a staff meeting and all of a sudden going on to this rambling discourse on some, train of halakha or whatever it is. Like, that's amazing.
Screaming goats. And the
Screaming
7
goats.
stains. Yeah. Yeah,
Exactly.
you're reminding me of some
Exactly.
strange discourses that we have had. The strangest. It's also strange that I have recorded a couple of these episodes, and totally unexpectedly, the Torah piece keeps coming in to everyone's, and I'm actually having a little bit of a hard time with it. Not not hard time as in struggle, like I'm struggling, just like what? Unexpected, because Nechama, you know me for a long time and you know me even since I'm a kid. And I was not the good student who loved learning Torah. I was the one who got suspended a lot. And it wasn't because I was against Torah. I didn't I didn't have it as a thriving experience where it felt like, oh, this is what a life of it means. It's not information thrown at you. It's this, wait, Modani is really alive. It really means something to me. Or so does saying a bracha on a cup of water. And that has slowly, and I don't even know that it was a conscious choice, but I do feel that it was an aspect of, like you say, as you're doing these modules, as you're learning these skills, as you're doing the work, the stuff that you're already doing, the life that you're already living, the candles that you're already lighting for Shabbos, the kiddush that you're already making, all of a sudden it just comes to life for you in a whole new way. And I think you're right. That is thriving. And more than that, my experience of this work has been that a lot of people, and I'm sure you can attest to this, especially as you're relating that a college teacher today is more about developing a relationship than just, here, let's drop a packet of information and I'll never see you again. I find that a lot of people coming into this work, it's, I'm in pain, get me out of pain. And they are talking about healing or pain relief. And thriving is not really a conversation of what real thriving is. And you kind of alluded to it so nicely that it's life has its ups and downs. You're going to have your hard days. And also, thriving is a relationship. So, can you tell us more about what that means for you and how it shows up in your work?
So here's what's coming to mind, right? I have this I call it my theory, although it's not really my own. It's always been there, right? That we have three core relationships in our life. We have a relationship with ourselves, we have a relationship with God, Hashem, and we have a relationship with our spouse. And these three are like the Chut Mishulash. They're all intertwined. You strengthen one, you strengthen the other because they're all so intricately connected. They're each like it's all a microcosm of the next one. And so if you're going to work on one, you're essentially just working on all. And let's talk like with the vessel, right? With vessel, you're really strengthening your relationship with yourself. So when you come into thriving with the way that you're living your life, and when you come into that like vitality of movement, because you're never getting stuck, even if you have a stuck moment, but you're not staying stuck in that moment. And maybe it'll take a day, it'll take a couple of hours with a conversation with a friend or whatever it is, but you're evolving out of that. You keep moving. Automatically, it's inevitable that what's going to end up happening is that you're going to see that movement transcend into other areas of your life. Like, for example, your relationship with Hashem and your relationship with your spouse. And so thriving as relationship, I think that's really true. I think that's really true. I think the more that you come into thriving with any relationship, but specifically these three, it's going to trickle down and it's going to have an effect on your life overall, which just means that your life becomes one of thriving.
So I want to ask you, because you've said it, it doesn't mean that your life is perfect. You still have these hard days. So I think a lot of people just don't really comprehend that healing is not about never feeling pain. So how would you define thriving to someone who's having a really hard day? Like, how do those two experiences coexist?
You know, I'll tell you what it looks like for me, right? If I have, I just had this actually last week or a week ago. I was just having a really hard day. I wouldn't say that I suffer from depression, but I definitely get pulled down a lot. My nature, my energy has that tendency. And so I just had a day where I couldn't do it. I couldn't get up. I couldn't get out of bed. I didn't want to face my friends. I didn't want to be busy with my kids. I didn't want to deal with any of that. And it was okay. So I laid in bed and I wear my comfy pajama sweats and I was distracting myself with whatever way, napping, sleeping. And I knew at the same time that I felt really down, at the same time that I felt really heavy, there was a part of me that knew it's okay. Tomorrow's not going to be like this. Like 2 hours from now might not be like this. And for right now, it's totally fine. Go back a couple of years ago, that would not have happened. I would have just been having a down day. I don't know when this is ever going to end. What's wrong with me? Why can't I get it together? This is not normal. Maybe I should see a therapist. And then here it was the next day. And I woke up and I was like, oh, right. Okay, great. I'm back to myself. And all my friends were like, Nechama, what happened to you yesterday? Where were you? I just needed a day. And it didn't stop me in my tracks. I didn't get stuck there. So even though I was still really not feeling great, like really having a bad day, or like having a bad argument with my husband where I want to kill the guy. And then there's that
We have
piece in
to
the
edit
back of
this
my
out
brain
in case
that
it gets
says,
used as evidence.
maybe we should think about that. Is that enough for motives? I don't know.
We can decide this later. Just for context, I think every girl has got to have a friend who keeps the shovels in the back of their car for you. You have to know, like, if you ever had to hide a body, who would you call?
Who would you call? This is a very important question
Yeah,
to
so
have an answer
Nechama and
to.
I, this is in a totally professional capacity. I mean, and I think it's absolutely relevant to the nature of our conversation on thriving is we have had serious discussions inside the gym and outside the gym about the perfect murder weapon. Yeah.
Yeah. But we're not going to divulge
No,
that here because
no.
it's
It
not
is
the
not the
place.
place, but
It's not the place.
there is one that is the perfect one. You probably need to join Vessel in order for that content to be released. Yeah, it's behind a paywall.
Yes. It was very privileged
Privileged information, but there
information.
is, and we have figured it out, but it is behind a paywall. Yeah. Yeah. But I'm going to go back to what you said about um, this is such an interesting comment to make in a public forum. I don't I don't have depression, but I do tend to be pulled down. Like that's a big thing to own. It doesn't surprise me that we get to own these things, but I think it may be surprising for people who hear this. Can you tell us more? I think people in Vessel would feel very comfortable with such language, but not everybody listening to this knows what Vessel is. And can you kind of explain how you're so cool having that kind of awareness?
I wasn't always. I wasn't always so cool with it. I was very insecure and also judgmental towards myself about it. But I think what's evolved and changed is that you start to recognize that you're comprised of many different pieces and it doesn't have to be just one. So yes, I do have this tendency, but the fact that I'm aware of it, the fact that I know about it, I can own it. And once you own it, it stops being this scary monster in the closet and it's just this is a part of who I am. And what's interesting is that the more that I, let's say, recognize or accept that part of who I am, the less it actually impacts my life. So whereas going back a couple of years, this piece, this feeling would have shown up pretty often. Today, it's not such a huge part of who I am. Yet it shows up every now and then, and there's usually a reason for it showing up, so the day later when I'm not in that state anymore, I can ask myself, well, what's been happening? Have I been taking care of myself? Have I been filling myself up? Or did I have a sequence of events that led to that likelihood that I would have been pulled down? I can be much more maybe analytical about it, but it's almost freeing. It's almost freeing to be able to recognize those parts of yourself that you think are so bad, you think that are so scary, you think that are so definitive of who you are as a person, and you realize, nope, it's really just one piece of a vast, large, interesting masterpiece.
Yeah, talking about masterpieces, I'm kind of cracking up a little bit to myself because I know a little bit about your trajectory and your journey and what makes you tick. And I'm just cracking up that you're showing up here on video with, the bungalow behind you. Nechama is one of the most polished. I'm the one who always shows up in gym clothes. Nechama is the one who shows up, polished and professional. And I remember when I interviewed you for Ignite 2 years ago. I think that was the first time that you did a formal interview, right? And there was so much nervousness about having the right background and the right setting and saying it right. And now we're just like, nope, I accept my parts. I will show up in the bungalow with a baby crying in the background, and this is thriving.
Yes, this is thriving. This is thriving. This is being completely unashamed of who you are, and at the same time very honest about who you are. Because I've seen a lot of people be unashamed about who they are and yet come at it with, let's just say, less integrity. And usually when you meet those people, something doesn't really sit quite right. You walk away feeling, wait, what? And I think that's really important to recognize because not always is, I didn't know how to, maybe you can have the better words here to describe this phenomenon, but it's almost that feeling of like, well, this is me and this is who I am. Yes, this is who we are.
Authentic.
And also,
I am authentic.
there is more
right?
to you.
Authenticity.
Authentic. Yeah. Authenticity. Yeah. Like that fake authenticity is, whew, it's hard. It's hard. And I think one of the things that we help each other with this as friends, but I think it shows up a lot in the community of what Vessel is checking in with each other, having that person make sure you're not being too authentic.
Right.
Like making sure that you're not so spiritual. And
Thank you.
And keeping you honest. And I think that's really important because if you're going to start, owning your shadows and you're going to start acknowledging and accepting the parts of yourself that maybe are not so pretty, so to speak, you have to have enough integrity to recognize that as much as you want to own those pieces of yourself, you don't want those to define who you are. You don't want that to be the end of the story. Like you want to incorporate it and also opening yourself up to more.
Yeah, I think it's the way Vessel is designed is that all the modules kind of merge into the next, and module 8, which is your module, goes right back to module 1, right? Module 8 is called Thriving in Orientation of Love Itself, and module 1 is self-love. So it starts with love and it ends with love. And in the middle, right, module 2 is about integrity. And I actually start the module talking about authenticity, but authenticity is not enough without integrity. And I think that module 8, I don't know if I've ever said the word in Vessel, even, I'm sure I did because it's an important word to me, is dignity, right? So it's not just about authenticity, it's about authenticity in integrity with a higher value. And it's being dignified enough to come in and show up as I am all of my parts, but I'm not over identifying with any one of them. Rather, I'm identifying with the choices that I'm making for the vision of myself that I would like to evolve into. And I think that
Yes.
also highlights what is different about our version of thriving. Like, and it brings it back to you being a kala teacher. Because when we deal with kalas, right, you're dealing with, the Disney princess who's going to walk down the aisle in the white dress and she just found her Prince Charming and she's going to live happily ever after. And then what happens?
And then day one starts. And I think that's what I always try to remind my kalas is that, like, this isn't over. One of the things I tell them in our very first class is, like, this is just the beginning of a friendship. We're in each other's spheres now. This is it. And whatever we're going to talk about before, it's good and it's nice, but it's not going to compare to whatever we're going to talk about after. Because afterwards is when we're having your conversations. Before, it's me telling you things that I think you should know, but then afterwards, it's the stuff that you really need or want to know. And that's why I value, like, the post-marriage, the post-wedding classes so much, or not even always a sit-down. Sometimes it's just like a 10-minute phone call. But they know that they can always call me. They know that there's no question that I won't answer. And again, for some, they don't really need it. For some, they totally do. And I think that's what's really important is just being able to give them that place and that structure and the opportunity to come into thriving without even realizing that that's what they're doing. And what you were saying before about this, having the dignity and bringing all the pieces, that's what thriving on a day-to-day looks like. It looks like having that bad thought and then taking the moment afterwards to say, hang on, do I want to think that? Is that a story I want to live with? That the way I want my day to look? There's a lot of responsibility. When you're living and thriving, you have to really own your life. And people don't like to talk about that a lot. People don't like to mention that. They don't like to own it because it's like, it sounds so much nice. I'm going to heal and I'm going to release and I'm going to, we joke about this all the time, like the words that have been hijacked today with this whole culture. But really, it takes a lot of responsibility. It takes a lot of responsibility to have your husband criticize you and pause for a second and say, is he right? Is there something here for me to learn about myself? Maybe I could do better next time. Okay, yes, he should have said it nicer and I'll deal with that.
What when your
But
kids
also,
criticize you?
wow, yes,
Mother of teens.
that's very humbling. That is very humbling. And not many people have the responsibility, and I'm using the word responsibility because I think it does come down to that, of being able to say, this is me, this is my life. What am I choosing to do with it? How am I choosing to think? How am I choosing to feel? How am I choosing to show up? And the more you make those choices consciously, I think that ultimately will lead you to the thriving that we're describing and talking about.
And thriving to me is very dynamic. It's not, oh, I reached a point and then I live my life at that point. Because no matter how high that point you get to is, if that point never changes, you're essentially flatlining. And you can be flatlining,
I was
right?
literally just thinking of the heart monitor. I'm like, that thriving is the up and the down. It's the
Yeah,
movement.
thriving is the melody. And if there is no melody, if there is no up and down, you might be on cloud nine, but you are flatlining on cloud nine. And that is not thriving. That's a spiritual bypass, living on cloud nine all of the time. This is also another piece, the relational aspect. The word relational just keeps popping into my head as I'm talking to you because you actually brought it up, again, about kala teaching being a relationship. And as I was inviting the alumni onto this series, I was describing it, right? I was describing it actually to the show editor, and he wanted to get clarity of, like, what is it that you're putting together? I said, I am interviewing the cool kids that you have never heard of because our focus is not on being cool or being out there. Our focus is actually on our families. Our focus is actually on the core relationships that we have in our lives. And yes, some of us are actually friends and we keep each other accountable, but it's not like this. I think in our world, call it what you will. For lack of a better term, even though I hate this term, the healing world, right? The field is
Yes.
very small.
Yeah.
It's growing,
Yeah.
but it's small in that everyone's connected and everybody knows each other. And I'm like, actually, my world is not like that. You may know this name, but it's not this like, I don't know how to describe it. It's not the cool kids club. It's people who are their lives are cool. They make every moment of their lives meaningful. They make every moment of their lives valuable. They're not available to go hang out in healing spaces because they're actually up all night with screaming babies and navigating the complexities of the relationship they have with their parents and their sisters and mopping the floor. And someone else was saying folding the laundry. She says, folding the laundry became a spiritual and meaningful part of my life because you're always going to be folding the laundry. But what if you can do it
Yes.
with more of your curiosity, amazement, and awareness? And I think that's something that we both work very hard to bring into this work.
Absolutely. Even absolutely. And it's also like with everything else, it's something you have to check yourself on because I know for me, right? I get so excited. Ideas start flowing and I'm like, oh, I want to do this. And oh, I should really do that. And I should put that. And then I have to say, Nechama, you don't have time for that. Just write it down in your notebook of ideas. You'll get to it next year. Right now, there's other stuff to be doing.
Right. And sometimes
Yes.
we give each other's ideas like, this is not my idea for now because I'm not ready. You want to do this for me now because I can't do it? Yeah.
Well,
We've
yeah.
done some things like that for each other. We're holding each other's visions. And that's been very nice to have friends who not just hold you accountable in this work, but friends that I think what I see a lot in this world is a lot of hoarding mentality, right? It's a scarcity mentality. And for me, one of the greatest aspects of thriving was actually having this sense of security. I'm okay. I know who I am. I know what I stand for. And the level of generosity that comes. I mean, the whole module on thriving is an orientation of generosity. Of there's enough for everyone. I want to see you grow and I want to see you succeed because your success just fills me with pleasure. That has been such a great gift of this.
It really has. And I think you've taught that particular point to me a lot because naturally the world doesn't show us that. Naturally, the world is like, hold on to everything you can, make sure you don't give it away for free. Even the concept of being able to come back to something year
You do
after
that too,
year,
right?
that was such novel. Like I do that with my course as well. And you know what? The gift and the pleasure that I get from hearing the feedback from the women who have come back again and again is priceless, is priceless and so reaffirming to me. Like, let's be selfish here for a second. Being able to have someone tell you, Nechama, oh my gosh, you said this last year. Like, I didn't even hear it, but this year it was like magical. I know, stop.
Right. And that's also people are it I've used this model for ever since I began Vessel and Ignite. And I am so proud and I feel very privileged that a bunch of people that in my world have also accepted this model with a deep
Wow.
sense of we're not losing out by letting people come back for free each time. I feel like I gain. I feel like exactly like you said, they give me better. One of the feedback that I get most often, not feedback, I guess the comments that I get, because it's not feedback on Vessel or Ignite. It's a comment that I get every time people ask me, "What is it that you do?" Right? And the feedback I get is, I don't do so well with online courses. I don't finish them, right? And this is very common in this work. You purchase the course and then you don't follow through. And for me, the amazement of not just people following through, but they come back. They're doing it again a year later and they're coming and I give it back for free. So you would think that if you paid to come back, even a nominal fee, you would at least say, hey, I made some sort of investment. I would want to come back. The amazement to me that people keep coming back to this work for free and they stay. And again, my work, your work, we do these courses. You give it to Haras Mishpacha course, right? It's 7, 8 weeks.
Yeah,
Right.
7 weeks
So not, yeah,
over
not
steering.
everybody is able to commit to the full 7 weeks. But even, if they drop in a week here or a Q&A there and to see a familiar face and you're like, they're back. That to me is this
Oh.
gift of generosity of this isn't about the money. This is about what we're really rippling out into the world. And yeah,
I think that's also a testament to the quality of the content because it's not just a course and it's not just information. It actually is bringing you back into thriving. It actually is opening you up to something more that then continues on the 8th, ninth, 10th, 11th, 12th week afterwards when you're just living life and, like you said, folding laundry. But
driving in the car and
something
having
is
this awareness about staff
driving the
meetings.
car. Yes, yes. I mean, my car is such a holy, sacred place. I mean, the wall, like they say the walls of the showers, but the wall of my car, wow, like if it could write a book, it would be fascinating. But
Right.
yeah,
I'm not even gonna, we're not even gonna talk about what happens in my car.
let's not go
Right.
there.
I feel like I think for clarity, we probably should explain why we're smirking so much when we talk about staff meetings. And
Think very carefully, though, before
right,
you do
what
that.
happens at a staff meeting must stay at a staff meeting.
You did mention the word dignity, I recall.
Dignity. There were also screaming goats. Yeah. Um, but this is a very real thing for me, the laughter. That that this level of the work that we're putting out there, it demands so much from us. Like it demands us. We're public figures, so there's always this like, who's looking at me, who's judging me, what are they thinking, what are they saying, what am I showing? Can I just have a bad day? Can I just have a bad day and not get out of bed? And what does that mean? And the decision that you can be in integrity and you can do this with dignity and also with a tremendous amount of laughter. I think I used to resist. I would call it Torah, but I don't mean Torah. I mean the generalized world of for the Beis Yaakov system that I was raised in is because I couldn't see the joy. And for me, a lot of this work has been the reclamation of living a life of integrity, dignity, authenticity, but also joy.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so true. It's so true. I think one of the greatest gifts that I've come into over the last few years is exactly that. It's the reclamation of Judaism. It's the reclamation of Torah. It's the reclamation of what that actually is all about, what spirituality is really
Spiritual.
all about. Oh,
Spiritual.
spiritual. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just the spiritual
Right. Because
reawakening.
there's spirituality and there's spiritual. They're not the same thing.
Yeah. No, they're really, really not the same thing. And I think that's really also it's been the what's the word I'm looking for? Like that has determined the teachers that I have found, the content that I've come across, and it just each piece just lights me up. And I think that's been such a tremendous gift because it's such a huge part of what thriving is for me. Even even a simple you're a words nerd, right? You know that. You say this
Word
about
nerd.
yourself.
Yes. Yes.
Word
Yes.
nerd. Even taking words that we've been hearing from the cradle and redefining them into what they actually mean. Like take a word like Torah. What does that actually mean? It like the root there, right, is hora'ah, like light, big direction. How halacha, right? Rachel always said halacha just means halicha, is the
Rachel is Rachel
path.
Goldbaum, the woman, the incredible woman who
Yes.
trained us both as college teachers.
Correct. She's phenomenal. If you haven't checked out her
We
work,
should
you
put her
should.
link
She's
in the show
abs-
notes.
we
Yes.
should. We should. She has some great classes that you can get on her website. Um, just little things like that, redefining what those words mean to us personally, I think is it's so important. And you bring up my work as a college teacher a lot. I think we should be heading towards a time where we don't necessarily need college teachers, where we just have women who are thriving. We just have women who are aligned and can have conversations with their daughters, with their nieces, with their friends. We- I think that would be so beautiful. I think that would be so beautiful if we can all come a little bit more into thriving, redefine Yiddishkeit for ourselves in a much more personal way. imagine what that would look like. I think that would be
Forget
gorgeous.
about imagine what they would look like, imagine what that would feel like. Right. I I keep going back to some of our experiences in training, like whether it was the hypnotherapy training or the azama, the breathwork training, like just some of the moments where we come out of one of the sessions or one of the classes, and there's this like the look on people's faces of was like, oh, and I know some of the warnings that I give, like in the beginning of the training, I'll be like, today is going to be the day you're going to cry. And everyone looks forward to it. Like you're going to cry and you will never have felt this good crying. It's part of it. It's part of the embodied lived experience of having it all.
Hmm. Yeah, it really is.
Yeah,
It
two
really is.
summers, was it 2 summers ago or 3 summers ago? I think it was 3 summers ago at this point. That I had my thyroid removed. I had thyroid
Yeah.
cancer, and somebody very well-meaning but spiritual, um, so it said to a close family member of mine, "Don't you think she's out of alignment because?" The stuff that she teaches, all of this healing, and you should be above all the trauma. And then you go and get something dumb like cancer. Like, don't you think? And, to me, not only was the most passive aggressive, it was bullying in a spiritual fashion, but it was like, wait, I don't think you understand what life is supposed to look like. I don't think you understand what thriving actually means. Thriving doesn't preclude you possibly having a difficult day or being diagnosed with cancer or having to go through whatever your soul committed to growing through in this life. And it's not a judgment. It's not personal. It's not about you. It's for you, but it's not about you, you know?
Exactly. And I think, it goes back to what we were saying before, people coming into this work because they want to get out of pain. There's more value to life than just not being in pain. Sometimes pain is good. Sometimes it's pointing you in the right direction. It's letting you know, hey, like, look here, there's something there for you. I think when we stop, even in emotions, right? We talk about good emotions versus bad emotions. What if they were just emotions? They're not good or they're not bad. This is what life is all about. It's actually reminding me of something we just came across yesterday in a share. Like, the only way you can be a good person is if you have the proclivity to be a bad person. Otherwise, it's meaningless and pointless. What makes an emotion good? It's only because you have a converse which doesn't feel so good. But if you didn't have the converse emotion that didn't feel so good, what would be a good emotion? We need we need the duality. We need both of those experiences. We need the bad days so that the good days are good. Otherwise, what would be the point? That's the movement. That's the heart monitor. That's the ups and the downs. You can't have an up if you don't have a down.
Yeah, there was a word that came to me recently when I was having one of my hard days, and I was so surprised. I laughed at myself when I guess my body offered up this word. I was so miserable. I was in the thick of it, and the word that came to me was, "This is so rich." you know, I would never have dreamed of describing a really difficult day as like, this is a very rich experience because I'm feeling it very viscerally. It was like that thick chocolate cake. I mean, there's chocolate cake and then there's chocolate cake. And there's the one that has the chocolate. Because like, yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna go off on it. I'm hungry. I'm not gonna go there right now. But yeah, that the babka that's oozing with the right kind of chocolate. I'm like, that's what my bad days feel like. You don't even have to be a fan of babka to be like, that's a rich level of chocolate right there.
You're right. Yes, yes, yes. I think that's, if we're talking about thriving, I think that is such an epitome of what thriving really is. It's being able to have the bad day and compare it to a rich babka.
Right. Yes. And you don't have to be a babka person to do so. Yes.
Fill in the blank, whatever it is for
Whatever
you.
it is. I wanted to ask you because we know each other for a very, very long time, um and watching each other's growth when we were like little nobodies rebelling. I mean, I was a little nobody rebelling against the system, and the evolution of who we've become. I'm curious on a personal level, has anything about you and your growth and the work that you now do in the world, has any bit of it like surprised you? The like who you've become, the way you impact others.
Yes and no. I think what surprised me the most, is how deep my well runs. I never would have guessed that about myself. And yet it doesn't surprise me that this is like who I've become. This is who I've turned into. It's always been like the writing's always been on the wall, so to speak. The writing's always been on the wall. I think what the biggest surprise for me is like owning it more and more with with the passing of time, being able to wake up and say, oh my gosh, like, this is what I do.
Just like a blush.
What I do. This is so cool. It's been amazing. It's been
You
absolutely
know what the
amazing.
best part was for me? Well, first off, I'm not even going to mention the girl from high school who texted me. She's like, "Who would have thought you'd become a teacher?" You know, I'm like, she doesn't even know what I'm teaching. Forget about the fact that I'm a teacher. The fact that like the stuff that I'm teaching. But I think the best part for me
Yeah.
was not that long ago. My daughter, I don't know. We were in a group setting. I don't know. Someone asked my daughter like what it was that I do, or maybe she was repeating it to me that someone had asked her, and her answer was, "She's just a mommy." Like she's my mother. And my daughter's not a child. She's 16. But when she said, "I don't know, she's just a mother." And then she turned to me, she says, "Mom, what is it that you do?" And I didn't know how to define what it is that I do, even though go onto my website, it'll tell you a lot, right? I teach and I give courses and I give trainings and blah blah blah, but and I have all of those diplomas, but her answer was actually the best answer ever. That I'm just a mother, because I think that's what all of the things that we do, all like we say, like in a way, it's amazing that you get to do this, but not surprising because it is still your well, and it's just more of it coming to the surface. To me, the goal of this work is to just be more you, and for my daughter not to be able to say she's a teacher, she's a this, she's a that, she's a mother. In the context with which I know her, she's my mother, and she's just as mothery can get. And to me, that's thriving, right?
Yeah. Yeah. It is. It is. It's having a hard time defining what we do, I think, is the essence of what we do, because it's not just this and it's not just that. Like, I don't know what next year is going to be. What if it's something totally different? And that is
Right. I always
amazing.
had this secret shame of like, I have a lot of diplomas and I don't put any letters at the end of my name because if I would, I would have more letters after my name than in my name. And I have a long name. It's Lee Tzipora, like, but because it's not about that. And I don't want to be
Exactly.
restricted to like, this is what I do. This is my diploma. This is what I've learned. And this is what I've learned about myself. And I am not done. And it's not because I'm collecting certificates. It's because I'm collecting life. I'm drinking in all of what life has to offer.
Exactly. I think that's what I love the most. It's like the mystery of it all. Like my friends who know me, I mean, I'm a course junkie. I like, what course am I taking this year? What training? What the, like, because I love to learn.
Yeah, we find each
And
other at a
what I
lot of these
find
courses.
by
By fluke.
fluke,
A lot of them are
and
flukes.
a lot of them really are. And it's never pre-planned. It's like, okay, like it falls into my lap almost. And like we were saying before, like when, the path of thriving will take you to the teacher and the course and the information that's right for you at the time. So I never really know. I don't know what next year's, discovery is going to look like for me, but I know it's going to be awesome. And I know that I'm going to continue coming at it in the way that I've been coming at everything else that I've found over the last few years. I mean, past life regression. If you would have asked me, Nechama, I think, like, what do you say about doing past life regression? I would have said, what is that?
But now you know.
Like, that really? What? I don't even know. And then here I am. And it's like, well, of course. Of course they trained in past life regression. Why
What does it
wouldn't
have to do
I?
with being a college teacher? Who cares?
It's
It's
exactly.
about being Nechama as much of you as you can be. So, talking
Yes.
about you and as much of you as you can be, I actually want to highlight something that I know is maybe not something that you offer now, but it's something that you've been talking about for a long time. This idea that kala
Okay.
teaching is a relationship and it doesn't start and end before the wedding. And it's actually something that you've mentioned wanting to bring forth. I know you're planning this, bringing this forth into the world. You want to
Yes.
let people know what's coming. in addition to being a
So
college
what's
teacher,
coming?
giving Tahara so much possible classes, working as a life coach, seeing people one-on-one in hypnotherapy and in breathwork, and you run stunning breathwork groups, and you're a public speaker and
Oh, yeah.
best gym buddy. No, our gym is full. You cannot join. What is coming?
So here's what's coming. I'm really hoping that this will come sometime after the Yom Tovim, so like November time. But like I said, when I'm thriving, it's going to happen whenever it happens. I am working to put together I'm calling it a Shana Rishona program. Essentially, it's a year-long membership for newly married couples, whether they're married for, let's say, between 1 and 3 years, and giving them continued access to information, support, resources, the conversations that need to be had with them, but they're not going to come. Like, very few couples make the phone call to ask the question that they really want to ask. But if it's already there and it's built into the system, I remember when I was writing up the syllabus, and I think I sent it to you, and I write like my goal. My goal is for this to be standard practice. You get married, you continue learning what it takes to be successfully married, to be happily married, to be purposefully married. And I think that's really missing. We have amazing college teachers and chassan rebbes out there who do offer support. Like I said, you follow up, you have the phone calls, the classes afterwards, and there's a limit. There's a limit to how much that phone conversation can get to. But imagine what it would look like if imagine if it was standard practice that you got married and then every single month you were listening to information that is useful and helpful and productive and can guide you in the struggles that we know you're going to have, because we've all been there. And we've all had the question and we've all faced the challenges. What would it look like if we can give them that continued support in such a, what's the word I'm looking for? Like, it's not singling them out. It was like, oh, I have a problem, so I have to take this. It's like, no, this is standard practice. Everyone needs to continue learn. Yeah, really, like a framework.
Yeah.
It's been my pipe dream forever. I mean, I remember telling this to you years ago. Like, I have this vision, my 10-year plan of creating like a structure and a framework where couples can come. And I very, very much want to create it as a couples experience. Although I recognize I might have to start off as just for the women and then eventually, enter into the sphere for the men and the husbands. But we're working on it. We're working on it.
I love that.
I would love to have guest speakers, bring people in like that. I want it to be a place of support and resource for young couples to help them start off with solid foundational footing.
Yeah, I think, again, the reason I'm asking you about it, even though I know it's not formally launched yet, is because to me, this is thriving. Most people think stories end with happily ever after, and they don't. Your story doesn't end. There's always going to be a next page, a next chapter, a new day, and you don't get to just close the book of, okay, we walked her down the aisle and she's good now. Thriving is a skill, and you have to keep learning and you have to keep evolving in order to keep thriving. You have to be able to knock yourself down a few rungs off the ladder in order to keep climbing. And to me, this is I think it's an important conversation. I want people, even though you're not launching this for a few months, I feel like I want people to already start thinking in these terms, because these are the changes that we're hoping to bring into the world. This isn't a magic pill and then you're cured. This is a magic lifetime of exploration and curiosity and seeking.
Absolutely. It's also why I've shifted the way that I work with people privately. I used to, people would call me up. They want to try breath work. They want to try hypnosis. And it was great. It was definitely important for me to go through that stage. And now I'm at a place where I want to offer you thriving. Don't just come to me for a breathwork session. Come to me for an experience. Let's set you up on your path towards thriving. And then you don't need me. Then you can live your life. Yes, you can come and hang out. And yes,
Cool.
we'll do a breathwork group together. Great. Perfect. But let me show you what thriving can look like. It means you come back and you come back and you come back. And yes, you fall and you slip and you mess up. And then you just keep trying, and it's okay, because like we said, the downs are part of it. It's just the natural part of the evolution of life, and they're necessary.
That's awesome. So one last question, because I did promise to keep it to time. So Nechama, being that you've been with this for a while, if you could think of the person who should be taking Vessel, right? And it's not just Vessel as in the course that I'm offering. It's your stuff as well. I know you say college teachers, but it's not really. Who is the right candidate for the work that we're putting out in the world? And don't say everyone. Give me more specific than that.
I wouldn't say everyone, actually, funny enough, because I don't think it's for everyone. I think it's for the women out there who are not maybe even ready or willing to admit this about themselves, but they still have that little girl inside that dreams big. The little girl inside that knows there could be more. The woman who secretly wishes fairy tales were true. Like the woman who knows that, yes, you have to be realistic, but secretly, maybe you don't have to be.
Right.
That's the
Like
person.
there's still
Because
magic. Like my Harry Potter books are right
there's
behind
so
me.
magic. Exactly. For all the people who want to apply to Hogwarts, this is for you.
Yes. Yes. I love that. This is, yeah. This is the embodied version of Hogwarts where magic is real.
Mm.
Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly. I think that's who this course is for. I think it's for people who, because that will mean that you're going to be remembering so much that you already know, you just don't have the words for.
Awesome. So if they wanted to sign up to what you're offering, where could people listening find you?
The best place to find me is on my
Your
website
new
right now.
website.
Everything.
It's our friend.
I moved into
You
my
moved into your online
house.
landing.
Yes, it's really exciting. So they can find me there. A lot of what I offer, a lot of what I do, and some freebies can be found at nechamastahl.com.
NechamaStahl.com, spelled the way you see her name on screen, and I will add it into the show notes. And you already know where to find out more about Vessel. And if you don't, it's really, really simple. You just go to my website. That's Fally Klein, spelled the way on screen, right there. Fally Klein. FallyKlein.com/Vessel. And that runs between Sukkot and Hanukkah. Thank you so much, Nechama, for this fabulous, amazing interview. I'm sorry, you can turn your air conditioning back on right now. I made Nechama, we're recording this mid-July, and I made Nechama turn off her AC because it's interfering with the audio. This is like, this is someone who's really committed to the work, who's willing to turn off her AC in
I mean,
July just so we get clear audio. So thank you, everybody who
mm,
is listening. If something in this conversation sparked something in you, landed for you, if you're feeling called to something, you know where to find us. Thank you so much. Before we wrap up, I want to give you a little something extra, a sneak peek into my favorite part of Vessel, our live Q&A calls. This is where the content comes alive in real time, shaped by the questions, stories, and the needs of the people in the room. It's raw, personal, and never the same twice. And it's where some of the most powerful shifts happen. I think we have time for one more question. I know there's like at least 10 more, 12 more questions that were submitted. And I'm so sorry that I can't get to them all, but it really ignites my excitement and my passion for what we do on Vessel. So thank you. But let's get to that last question. Hey, I have so many questions. I will try to sit down and word them properly while this is still open. But in case it's not meant to be for this call, I still want to say hi. Hi, it's me. And that's so perfect. But no, I actually will read another question. Okay. Hey, it's me. Since taking Vessel, I've become much more aware of myself and what I want for myself. Being an ultimate people pleaser, I was always used and stepped on by everyone, and it never even bothered me. But then suddenly it started bothering me so much, and there's nothing I can do at this point. People just think I'm being moody if I talk back. Is there anything that can be done at this point to change the way people treat me or the way I handle them? So the answer is no and yes, right? You can't actually change the way people treat you, but the way you handle them, you can. And when you change the way you handle them, ultimately, you will be able to impact the way that they treat you. You have to teach people how to treat you. And for years, you've been a people pleaser. So, what you have taught people unconsciously was that it's okay to pressure you, it's okay to boss you around. It's okay to ask you for favors without considering how you might be feeling about them. It's okay to discount your needs, right? It doesn't make the people around you bad people, right? It just like I was listening to a podcast recently with Dr. Ramani. I cannot pronounce her last name, which is called Dr. Ramani on Instagram, YouTube, whatever. And she is the narcissistic recovery person. That's this is her specialty. She's the expert on narcissism. Lots of different experts on narcissism out there, like Sam Vaknin, different big names. I have mixed feelings about them all because the concept of narcissism is a very loaded concept, and there's no real agreement on it in there's academic circles and clinical circles, and they actually don't agree on what narcissism is. So depending on who you're talking to, if you're talking to an academic, if you're talking to a clinician, and then again, depending on how old they are and how recent their degrees are and how involved they are in private practice, everyone's definition of narcissism is going to change. But Dr. Ramani said something very interesting. She said that people have bad behaviors. It's just what we do. We engage in sometimes relationships, they grow, sometimes they evolve. People are capable of change. And just because someone mistreats you doesn't mean that they're a bad person or a narcissist. But what she was saying is that a person with a lot of what narcissists feed off is being able to control and manipulate you, right? So very often when people feel controlled and manipulated, they assume that the other person is a narcissist. Because if I was able to be controlled and manipulated, it must mean that the other person is a narcissist. It must mean that they're a bad person. Actually, no. It just means that you were able to be controlled and manipulated. It doesn't mean that the person doing it to you is a narcissist. It just means you fell for it. And a lot of us fall for that because we're people pleasers, because we want people to be happy with us, because we're conflict averse and we like the status quo, or we don't have a lot of confidence. It doesn't mean that the people around us are bad. But the hallmark of a narcissist is that as you grow in your integrity, right, in your authenticity, and you have standards for yourself and you have confidence, right, as you develop that sense of self-awareness and you're less easily manipulated, you're going to have two different reactions by people in your life, right? The narcissist will first will blame you, right? They're going to make the issue about you, but eventually they'll be bored of you. They're going to dump you. They're not going to be interested in you. They'll go through their stages of grief with this, but you're not interesting to them. And narcissists, and again, I'm using the word narcissist very loosely. Okay, I don't like using pathological terms, but it's a term that people think that they're familiar with, so it works for the context of this thing. And I'm not making this up. I'm just quoting Dr. Ramani. A narcissist isn't attracted to somebody that has a lot of integrity and is able to stand in authenticity. But healthy people, they will also go through the stages of grief when you change, because you're shaking the foundations of what they thought this relationship was about. So first they're going to be like, what's wrong with you? You're different. You've changed. But healthy people will actually then become inspired to learn more about you and to adapt to the changing dynamic of relationship, because relationships change. I think the hallmark of a narcissistic relationship is that it doesn't change. It's the same cycle for 20 years, right? The hallmark of a healthy relationship is that we grow and we evolve, and we may not always be on the same page. Sometimes in relationships, one partner is growing a little faster or a little further than the other. You don't always have to be on the same page in order to have a healthy relationship. You just have to honor where the other person's at, even if you're not at there. Some of my best friends don't do the work that I do. They're boring. They're accountants or lawyers or shetelmachers, or they sell clothing, and you would think like, Fally, she's so intellectual. She wants people who do the work. No, actually, I don't. I just want people who are healthy and stable and celebrate each other and are kind, right? So healthy relationships is not about we're always doing the same thing, but we honor. And even in a healthy relationship, as one person changes, the dynamic of the relationship changes, and the other person is like, wait, I'm not sure how to deal with this. And it is normal for people to go through stages of grief or not understanding, right, as you evolve. The thing is that we don't evolve overnight. We evolve very, very slowly. And so the beginning of our evolution, when we're maybe not a people pleaser anymore, we're still not confident. So we become avoidant. Like we're not willing or able yet to have the clear conversation. Like, hey, I just want to share something with you. I'm learning a lot about myself. And I realized that I was doing things that I wasn't actually okay with. These are non-confrontational, beautiful conversations that we need to be having with the people we care about, but in the process of us growing, right? So we grow away from our pain points, and then we have to grow towards our growth points. And there's this big messy space in the middle. And in the messy space in the middle, we feel messy, right? So then you're like, I don't know, maybe I am being moody, or maybe I am talking back because I'm aggressive, because I don't know how to defend myself yet. And like, this is very new to me and I'm feeling very vulnerable and I don't want to people please, but I also don't want to be called out for not people pleasing. So, oh my gosh, right? And then they're like, you're moody and you changed. And you're like, you're a narcissist because now you hate me for not. No, they're not a narcissist. And you're an emerging or recovering people pleaser, and this is a trajectory. Do not get stuck in labels, okay? Just understand that the messy piece is actually the most important piece. It's where all of our growth happens. It's like that very famous poem of the dash, on the headstone, the dash between the years, because you go to someone's matzeva and you see the year that they were born and the year that they died. And then there's this one tiny dash between these 2 years. And that dash actually represents the entirety of their lived and messy and vulnerable and human experience. And it's like, it's this, right? So we're in the dash. Please do not dash through the dash. It's a very, very slow meander through quicksand and mud and weeds, and it's messy. Okay. So the key over here is keep learning to show up for yourself, and you need to resource yourself. You need to keep yourself accountable. You need to have friends, good friends, who will call you out if some of your behaviors are not really aligned. There's a difference between between being like conflict avoidant to being, aggressive or like not nice or unkind, right? Have good friends and mentors, therapists, if you have one, who can keep you on track. Create a values list. A friend of mine who is a therapist actually sent me last night at like 11:30 p.m. forwarded me a voice note that apparently I sent her 1 year ago yesterday. She had written something about this voice note in her journal. And you guys know I'm a very big fan of the 1 line a day journal. So you're journaling 1 line, but it's for 5 years. So it's like today's August 7th that we're recording this call. So in my journal, August 7th has 5 lines. So it's 5 years in a row. So she was journaling August 6th, and she saw something that she mentioned August 6th a year ago about a voice note that I sent her. So she went back, she re-listened to the voice note, and she went and forwarded it to me. And I was so grateful to her. I was like, you cannot imagine how important it was for me to hear this voice note, because I would have forgotten about it. But in that voice note, what I had said to her was I was struggling with something. And I told her, but this is my vision for who I want to be in this struggle. I set a value system for me, and my values were, right? I promise you, I don't remember sending that voice note. But what I will tell you is that I'm still in that struggle. I'm a year further in that struggle. I mean, we're not stagnant, right? We move. So struggles don't end from one second to the next. We can spend years in one struggle. I'm still in that struggle. Hearing that voice note was so wonderful for me, because I had completely forgotten that I set myself up a value system for who I wanted to be as I go through that struggle. And it was a reminder. And I was so proud, because when I listened to that voice note, I am actually keeping to all of those values I set for myself. I'm keeping to the commitments I made to myself and for myself when I knew that this struggle could be a long-term thing, and I decided who I wanted to be during it and coming through it at the end of it. And this is something that I recommend for all of us as we do this work. This work is messy. There's a big dash in this work, a dash of the unknown, right? We know the day we were born. Hashem knows the day we were going to die, but everything in between is us. It's choice. It's messy. And it takes a lot of time until we see the tapestry of our life. The one thing we can do is dream. We can set ourselves up a vision. We can set ourselves up a value system for who we want to be as we go through our dash. And that doesn't mean that every day you're going to be good at it. It doesn't mean that every moment you're going to shine. You're going to make a lot of mistakes along the way, but deciding who you want to be as you go through this process will actually help you through this process. Like I said, I had forgotten that I sent this voice note. I had even forgotten that I created for myself a value system. And yet I'm living according to that value system. And I have to say, probably the only reason I'm able to live according to this value system is because I made myself that value system, even if I totally forgot about it. I had given it thought. I had even articulated it to another human being. And even as I promptly forgot about it, the inner me did not. And I've been living according to that ever since. So you're not in a bad place. I also know who you are since you introduced yourself. You took Vessel once, right? A year ago. So you're doing amazing to be 1 year in. But you're going to do 2 years in now and 3 years in. And this is part of the growth process. So in the beginning, it's messy because you're moving away. The people around you are grieving who you used to be without understanding who you're becoming. And you yourself don't know who you're becoming. So let's give ourselves a lot of grace and the people around us a lot of grace. And also right now, take some time, take a pen, take a paper, and write it down. What is your vision for yourself? What do you value? What are the commitments you're going to make for yourself, even as life gets messy? Keep showing up, keep being kind, keep speaking, with integrity, whatever it is. Decide for yourself 3 things, not more, just 3. Because if it's more, you're just going to get overwhelmed. 3 things that you're ready to commit to and not compromise on. And I will see you back on Vessel. And I'm pretty sure we're all going to be celebrating your successes. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for joining me today on this surprise Vessel alumni call. I cannot wait for these recordings to be released, and I for sure can't wait until we get to start again right after Sukkot. We head into winter, into that deep dive as the nights get darker, as the dark nights get longer, and we're feeling a little isolated. It's such a good way to know that we're not alone. We get to come together on these calls and in this program. I wait for it all summer. I wait for it all year, and I'm so excited that I get to do this again with all of you.